leading the charge for the Lakers. A pump fake by Doncic. Over to Rui Hachimura.
That's 6 or all threes. Luka, fresh snow from the outside for Doncic.
A 40-year-old LeBron James leading the Lakers was supposed to be the end of this era in LA, and everyone knew that this team was about to enter another dark age. True enough, they were bound for another rebuild after this season because LeBron is getting older. Meanwhile, Anthony Davis doesn't have the legs and the knees to carry this team into the future. The Lakers were about to fall 5 years after that 2020 championship run. Thankfully for them, a quick trade heist pushed this team back into contention while ensuring the Lakers have a future for the next 10 years. The Los Angeles Lakers may not have 18 championship banners up in the rafters, but this franchise is still arguably the most popular team in the NBA because of its storied history. There has always been a good Lakers team almost every decade, and the Lakers have almost always competed for championships in every era. While it took a while for the Lakers of the 2010s to find its bearing after the Kobe Bryant era ended, it saw a quick revival in 2018. LeBron James, who had spent 4 straight years with the Cleveland Cavaliers and had delivered a promised championship to that team, decided to join the Lakers in what was arguably the biggest move in the Kings' career. LeBron's decision to become a Laker basically placed this team on the map, but it was ultimately the 2019 offseason that transformed them into a title contender.
Shoot 38% from downtown. Here comes
The Lakers gutted their young core by trading away guys like Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball to acquire the superstar big man Anthony Davis. This trade gave the Lakers one of the best duos in the league. On top of that, it turned the Lakers into a powerhouse once more because they now had 2 of the top 10 best players in the league on that roster. Thanks to the trade, the Lakers dominated during the 2019-20 season. Frank Vogel's defense-oriented system transformed that team into a championship contender that could suffocate opposing teams with its size and physicality. And they had a lot of great veterans on the roster as well, with the likes of Dwight Howard and Rajon Rondo helping out. Eventually, the Lakers won the 2020 championship to tie the Boston Celtics, who still had 17 championship banners at that time. This placed the Lakers back on the map as one of the best teams in the league. But that reign didn't last long. The Lakers were still championship favorites in 2021, but injuries eventually slowed them down, making it hard for them to play at the top of their game. They lost in the first round of the 2021 playoffs, unable to defend their title that season. And things just went south for them after. The Lakers front office thought that putting together a championship team was as easy as assembling big-name stars. They acquired Russell Westbrook, who was one of the best point guards in the league at that time.
Now they're back this time. They're set. Oh, Russell Westbrook!
But what they didn't know was that you need chemistry and the proper system to make a roster work. As good as Westbrook was, he just could not find his identity on a team that already had a clear alpha named LeBron James. Westbrook thrived with the ball in his hands, but he was useless whenever James had the ball because Russ was never really good at playing off the ball due to his lack of outside shooting. So, whenever the Lakers had their big 3 on the floor, Westbrook looked like the odd man out because he seemingly had no idea what his role was. And Vogel struggled to make this roster work. With the lack of floor spacing and the apparent fit problems regarding their 3 best players, the Lakers struggled in 2022, missing the playoffs entirely. A lot of people blamed injuries because LeBron and AD weren't exactly healthy the entire season. But it was clear that it was also a matter of age and chemistry problems. Despite the fact that the roster construction was the biggest problem, the Lakers still shifted the blame to Frank Vogel, firing him 2 years after he led the team to a title. It was an unceremonious dismissal that a lot of critics said was uncalled for. After all, Vogel did the best with what he had. He can only do so much when your 3rd best player doesn't know how to play with LeBron and AD, or when his 2 best players were often injured. At that point, it looked like the Lakers were done. The same trend continued during the 2022-23 season when the Lakers started slow and could not buy an outside shot. It became frustrating to watch them bricking shot after shot. Not even their new head coach, Darvin Ham, could right this ship. But the scapegoat was no longer the coach. Instead, people started pointing fingers at Russell Westbrook.
Russ all the way. Russ does not throw it down.
The struggles that the Lakers faced finally made it clear to the front office that they needed to do something new. This was when they finally traded Westbrook and brought in players who helped them reach the playoffs. Despite overcoming the odds to get to the Western Conference Finals, the Lakers got demolished by the Denver Nuggets, the eventual champions that season. Even though the team looked good after the Westbrook trade, the Lakers still underperformed during the 2023-24 season. LeBron was playing beyond his years despite being an NBA player for more than 2 decades. Meanwhile, Anthony Davis was finally healthy after consistently spending time on the sidelines due to injuries. They even saw contributions from fresh new faces like Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura. However, any basketball fan would know that this team didn't know what it was doing. Whenever LeBron wasn't on the floor, the Lakers looked confused. A lot of the players didn't know what their roles were. They were playing through the motions, simply relying on guys like Davis and James setting them up. What made it worse was that the front office seemed content with what they were fielding. Outside of LeBron, AD, and maybe Reeves, everyone on the roster needed to be traded. Unfortunately, there were no blockbuster trades for the Lakers. Meanwhile, Darvin Ham struggled to keep the team afloat because he looked like he didn't know what he was doing with the talent he had on the roster. In contrast to Vogel, who made the most out of his old and injury-riddled team, Ham had a lot of confusing decisions. He preferred starting Teron Price over Rui Hachimura despite the big talent difference between those players.
He's played good basketball since coming back from the injury. How about this great throwdown?
Ham was also underutilizing the younger players. Whatever Ham was doing wasn't working. The Lakers barely made it to the playoffs as the 8th seed, and even after making it, they ran into the Denver Nuggets, who blasted them again. The struggles of the past 2 seasons made it clear that Ham needed to go. LeBron, meanwhile, finally took over and decided to use his influence to convince the Lakers to not only hire JJ Redick, but also draft his son, Bronny James, who isn't even good enough to be an NBA player. At this point, everyone in the league had already lost hope for the Lakers, not only because LeBron was now pulling strings and hiring friends and family, but also because the front office didn't even do much in the offseason. There were no key additions to this team in 2024, making it clear that the front office either didn't know what it was doing or simply couldn't pull off massive trades and moves. Outside of LeBron and AD, no one on this Laker team was consistently good enough to help this team win a title. D'Angelo Russell only plays well when he's hot, but when it's playoff time, he shoots blanks from the field. He should have been traded months ago, but the Lakers front office can't seem to let him go. And the other young guys aren't any better at all. At one point, things looked bleak for the Lakers, especially because the front office wasn't doing a good job at adding pieces to what could have been a championship roster.
Austin wants to get to the rim, cut off there by Pippen. Reeves!
And Rob Pelinka's track record wasn't doing the Lakers any favors. Firing Vogel was a premature decision that a lot of people still say was the wrong move, and the hiring of Ham was an even worse decision. On top of that, acquiring players like Westbrook, Russell, and several other names who couldn't contribute to a championship run made it clear that the front office isn't very reliable when it comes to constructing a roster. It's like they're playing a game of NBA 2K, where putting together stars on one team is almost a championship guarantee. And the worst part is that there are no clear young assets on this team. The front office could have done its job during the offseason, but it had to wait until the middle of the 2024-25 season to realize changes were needed. One of the first things the team did was getting rid of D'Angelo Russell, who hasn't played up to par in his second stint with the Lakers. He struggles to hit shots and can't play elite defense. This allowed Redick to put the ball more in Austin Reeves' hands because he's been the better guard at creating shots and making plays. The Lakers also added key pieces like Dorian Finney-Smith, a guy who might not be a star but is built to play alongside players like LeBron because he's an elite 3-and-D player who can defend multiple positions. But the biggest surprise of them all was Pelinka picking up the phone and saying yes to the Dallas Mavericks trade offer. The Mavs, who wanted to move on from Luka Doncic because of his conditioning issues and apparent lack of defensive intensity, offered the generational superstar to the Lakers in exchange for Anthony Davis. There is no other big man as good as AD on both ends of the floor, but that's only true whenever he's healthy and available. The problem is that he's aging into his 30s and has missed a ton of games. On the other hand, Doncic is only 26 years old and at the prime of his career. He's the type of player you only see entering the league once every 30 years because he's simply special. So, with this trade, LeBron finally got a teammate who's every bit as good as he is. The Doncic acquisition turned the Lakers' 2024-25 season around, pushing them out of the play-in tournament race and into a fight for one of the top 5 spots in the Western Conference. Doncic's ability to score and make plays alleviated a ton of pressure off of LeBron, all while allowing Reeves to unleash his offense without worrying about defenders focusing on him. What's more important here is that even if LeBron decides to hang up the sneakers in 2 years, the Lakers are assured of a top 5 player for the next 10 years because Doncic is simply that good. What this means is that the bright lights of LA won't be seeing a dark age soon, because James is basically only going to pass the torch to Doncic.